Well, actually, the idea was not mine. It was my friend Atul Kulkarni which came up with the idea. And the way it happened was we were sitting one night and chatting. He's a close friend and he acts as well. We've done a couple of films together. And he asked me, what's your favorite film? And I said, one of them is Forrest Gump. And we spoke a little about it, and the night got over and I forgot about it. And then 2 weeks later, Atul calls me up and says, I've written a script for you. So I said, oh, but I didn't know you write. He said, no, I don't. This is the first time I've written it. So I said, okay, so what have you written? He said, I've written an Indian adaptation of Forrest Gump. And I started laughing. I said, you know, Atul, that's a cult classic and that's such, you know, a film that's rooted, so deeply rooted in American culture. And how can you translate it into Indian settings? And he said, well, I've written it and I want you to hear it. I said, you've written it in 2 weeks? He said, yeah, in 2 weeks I wrote it. So I didn't have much hopes from that script. But eventually when I heard the script from him and I heard the narration, that's when it blew my mind. And I was just marveling at how beautifully he had, you know, put the story in India and set it there. And when I heard the story, a script, I kind of felt I was listening to an Indian story. That's how well he had adapted it. And I just fell in love with it. And that's when I realized that, you know what, I want to do this. And then the journey began of trying to get the rights. It took us around 8 years to finally get them. So it was as much of a surprise to me as it is to anyone else, to be quite honest. We've been in the same film industry working as colleagues for now, you know, over 30 years. And over the years, we've developed a lot of warmth and respect and love for each other. And when we were making Lal Singh in the original, we had to find a replacement for Elvis Presley, who's a huge star in America. And the obvious choice for us was Shah Rukh Khan, because he's this huge, iconic star in India and all of us love him. And so I called him up and said, listen, I want you to play yourself in my film. And he was so generous and warm. And he said, yes, of course, I'll do it. And he was really sweet. And it was really wonderful of him to have done that. Oh, it's so important. It's so important. But I think a film like this is important any time, but so much more right now. I think the character of Lal, his innocence, his purity of heart, and he just doesn't have a negative bone in him. And he's such a beautiful character. And when I see characters like this, I feel like I'd like to be a little like Lal myself, if I could. And you know, when the film actually is trying to show you the strength that innocence comes with. So usually you have protagonists who are physically strong and beat up a lot of people, or they have a lot of moral strength and they fight for justice. But here is a hero who is just a simple guy who's just very pure of heart. And just being himself has got so many strengths. Being so innocent comes with so much strength in itself that he doesn't have to do anything. It's almost as if the universe conspires to get things done for him. And that is why there are so many miracles in his life. So it's a beautiful story about, you know, believing in all that is good in the world. And I love stories like this. Well, this was a decision that Atul had taken on his own when he was writing it. So when I heard the narration, he was already a Sikh character. And all of the socio-political timelines were in place, and he had kind of already done all of it. So it all was right there in front of us. Yeah. So all of that was done by Atul, actually. So all credit to him for the stuff that you've liked in the script. Oh, wow. That's a big question. Well, I think, I mean, it's difficult to answer this in such a short interview, but I think that like any other country, India is also constantly changing and going through its own, you know, life cycle. It's an ancient culture. India is, you know, it's an old ancient culture and has been around for so many centuries. So I don't know whether it's such an old culture that I don't know whether the assassination of one person in that would change so much in it, because it's kind of already moving where it's wanting to. Well, I think my most challenging and most exciting scene also was the scene when Lal comes back. Lal comes to meet Rupa after many years, and he's now changed his physical appearance as well. He's got a long beard, he's got a turban. And that scene when they were meeting after many years, in which a lot happens, you know, I don't want to tell people what happens, but that scene was a scene that for me is one of the most beautiful scenes and also the most difficult scene. Well, that's a very interesting question. So, you know, I love listening to music from the old Bollywood films of the 50s and 60s, that era. That's my favorite kind of music. And I've realized that when I'm shooting a scene which is very funny and it's got a lot of fun and I need a lot of energy, so I listen to songs which are very happy and full of fun and energy in the morning when I'm going to the shoot. I like to listen to songs of that mood. And sometimes when I'm doing a scene which is very emotional or serious, or I'm, you know, very moved, then I like to stay in the mood. I like to hear songs which are sad and which kind of help me get into the mood. So yes, music does play an important part for me in the morning when I'm setting out to work. I like to be in the mood of the scene.
जो भी हुंदा है वो हम कर दें या फिर हम हवा विच एवं ही उड़ते फिरते हैं यहाँ से वहाँ.
तुम्हारे पैरों को क्या हुआ?
कुछ भी नहीं, मैं तो बिल्कुल चंगा हूँ.
कहाँ रहते हो?
अपने घर विच.
बुद्धू हो क्या?
नहीं जी, मैं तो बिल्कुल चंगा हूँ.
आपका बच्चा अलग है. कुछ बच्चे होते हैं बहुत इंटेलिजेंट, कुछ होते हैं नॉर्मल और कुछ नॉर्मल से कम, जैसे आपका लाल.
मैं ले लेता हूँ.
ओए, तू अपना काम कर, वो खुद उठाएगा.
किसी से कम नहीं है तू, बाकी बच्चों जैसा ही है. मैं जो किया है वो हमेशा याद रखी.
अब कुछ लोग विश्वास नहीं करते, पर जिंदगी में चमत्कार होंगे हैं जी. हाँ. मम्मी कहती थी कि हर एक दी अपनी तकदीर होंदी है, कि सारा कुछ लिखिया होंदा है. मैंने नहीं पता कितने लिखिया है सब, किसने लिखिया है और क्यों लिखिया है जो लिखिया है.
रूपा मेरे साथ ब्याह करेगी?
तुम मुझे बहुत अच्छे लगते हो लाल, लेकिन हमारा कुछ नहीं हो सकता.
मेरी मम्मी कहती थी कि जिंदगी गुलगप्पे जैसी होती है, पेट पले ही पर जावे मन नहीं पड़ता.
क्या पता हमें है कहानियां हैं, कहानी में हम पम पररररम